What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
You don't know what that order is, Mr. Trash. I'd show you, but I'm too old. I'm too tired. I'm too fucking blind. If I were the man I was 5 years ago, I'd take a flamethrower to this place.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!
Oh, we've said it once, we've said it before, we've said it a million times. The truth shall always set you free. This is Tim Skin off my lawn, the mad ramblings of a Gen Xer. Need to talk about Hurricane Kamala, the FEMA Kamala in chief. I need to also talk about that train wreck of a 60 Minutes interview that she gave. Oh, great balls of fire. I was literally watching this interview, this 60-minute interview she had. And I just didn't get it. I really didn't. You heard her talk, you heard her speak, and I loved it because you finally had somebody go after Kamala Harris and hold her feet to the fire a little bit about what she's talking about, what she's trying to say.
All right, explain this to me like I'm a 2-year-old, okay? Because there's an element to this thing I just cannot get through my thick head.
And there was an element to that interview that she just couldn't get through her thick head. Really couldn't. And she, again, didn't say anything. And anyone that watched this interview, back in the day when Mike Wallace and all the other guys were on 60 Minutes, they were this hard-hitting news organization. You know, now it's been pretty much a segment of the liberal media. But during that interview, I was stunned. I was shocked. First thing I want to talk about, though, is everything going on with the hurricanes. You have Helene, you have the Milton coming in now, and it looks like it's going to cross right over into Tampa. And it's just a bad situation. And you got people in the Carolinas that aren't getting the resources they need. The federal government is not, I'm not going to say dragging their feet, but they're just not doing the job that they need to do. And yes, money was diverted from FEMA to the illegal immigration issue. And I laugh because, and I don't really laugh because you have the likes of Karine Jean-Pierre sitting there and trying to deny vehemently that at no point in time was any relief money being moved from FEMA to help illegal immigrants. Let's listen. Can we listen to this clip a second? I think we have to. Hold on. Let's see if we can.
It is not true. It is a false statement. No, Biden did not take FEMA relief money to use on migrants. Funding is also available through FEMA's emergency food and shelter program to eligible local governments and non-for-profit organizations upon request to support humanitarian relief for migrants.
Now, the first statement was on October 4th of 2024. The last statement was on September 16th of 2022. If you go on the FEMA website, you can see how you can apply if you're an illegal immigrant, how you can apply for housing and funds and all this fun stuff. But we're stupid. And the venerable Karine Jean-Pierre is just amazing as usual. I want to use a bad word, but how she has not been fired is amazing to me. It really is. It just makes you cringe. So, Vice President Kamala Harris has basically called out Ron DeSantis as being selfish for not taking her hurricane-related calls. I love it because I have the picture on the thumbnail of her standing at the head of FEMA. Look at me, I'm in charge of everything. The Democrats will never pass up a good disaster as an opportunity. They never pass that shit up. You got to give him credit for that. Because the vice president all these years and all these hurricanes, and I lived in Florida, has always been front and center, calling the governors of the states, doing these things to help facilitate FEMA and the relief effort. It's always happened. It's always happened since I can remember. Not. The vice president is never involved in this shit. it's always the president working with the governors. You never hear, well, this vice president, just the vice president came here to Florida and everything's fine. So this whack job says people are in desperate need of support right now, and playing political games at this moment is in these crisis situations is just utterly irresponsible. It's selfish, Harris said. That was on Monday. It's all about political gamesmanship. It's doing your job that you took an oath to do, which is to put people first. So she's sitting in FEMA headquarters at the head of the table, which I've never seen before, because you need a political photo op opportunity for an election. And she's calling out DeSantis for this. Now you gotta love Big Ron, because Big Ron doesn't take any shit. He really doesn't, because he knows what this is, and he had a response to the wonderful Kamala Harris. Hold on a minute.
Focus on leveraging all resources available, including from the federal government. And I've been in touch with both FEMA and the president, as well as marshaling all our state agencies and working to support our local communities. And so for Kamala Harris to try to say that my sole focus on the people of Florida is somehow selfish is delusional. She has no role in this. In fact, she's been vice president for 3.5 years. I've dealt with a number of storms under this administration. She has never contributed anything to any of these efforts. And so what I think is selfish is her trying to blunder into this. No. And here's the thing. She has no role. No, she has no role in this process. I'm in contact with the President of the United States. I'm in contact with FEMA director. I'm obviously managing all our state agencies. We're supporting all our local government. And I will say this. I've had storms under both President Trump and President Biden, and I've worked well with both of them. She's the first one who's trying to politicize the storm, and she's doing that just because of her campaign. She's trying to get some type of an edge. She knows she's doing poorly, and so she's playing these political games. I don't have time for political games. I've got people whose lives are on the line. I've got people whose homes and their possessions are on the line, and we are focused 100% on that mission. I'm not worried about playing her political games. And so she is being selfish by trying to blunder into this when we're working just fine.
I don't think she saw that one coming. I don't think she sees much coming because she's not very bright. People, people get mad at Trump for when they say Kamala Harris. She's, he says all the time, Kamala Harris isn't the bright. She's not the sharpest tool in the shed. We know this. But literally, like I said, if anyone's trying to be political about this, anyone's looking for a photo op, if anyone's looking for an opportunity to look good at something, it's Kamala Harris, because she doesn't look good at anything. Her policies are scary. Her thought process on current events or just world events or just anything that has to do with anything is a muddling mess. And this is the woman that we're going to have handle our foreign affairs against China, against Russia, against the aggression in Iran, against the Houthis. This is the person that's going to put a stop to all this. You should be scared if you even consider voting for this crackhead. And I shouldn't insult crackheads that way. I do apologize for all the crackheads out there. So 60 Minutes did an interview with her. Oh, Lordy, was that a train wreck? I love the one question. If China attacks Taiwan, will you use military force to support China?
There we go. Say if China attacks Taiwan, would we use military force to support Taiwan?
Bill, I'm not going to get into hypotheticals, but listen, we need to make sure that we maintain a one China policy, but that includes supporting Taiwan's ability to defend itself, including what we need to do to ensure the freedom of the Taiwan Strait. We need to make sure we have open lines of communication with China, in particular, military to military.
She is clueless. She is clueless. She is feckless. So we're going to military to military. We're going to talk to China. Our militaries are going to get together. We're going to sing Kumbaya, because that's what adversaries do. And I'm not going to sit there and tell you I support Taiwan. I'm not going to come out and say that, because if I did say that, well, I would actually have made it and had a thought and an opinion on anything. I really can't. I can't believe this. But here, this is. I got to play this clip. Let's get to this clip as well. Hold on a second.
Tell you what your critics and the columnists say.
Okay.
They say that the reason so many voters don't know you is that you have changed your position on so many things. You were against fracking, now you're for it. You supported looser immigration policies, now you're tightening them up. You were for Medicare for all, now you're not. So many that people don't truly know what you believe or what you stand for, and I know you've heard that.
In the last 4 years, I have been Vice President of the United States, and I have been traveling our country, and I have been listening to folks and seeking what is possible in terms of common ground. I believe in building consensus. We are a diverse people, geographically, regionally, in terms of where we are in our backgrounds. And what the American people do want is that we have leaders who can build consensus, where we can figure out compromise and understand it's not a bad thing, as long as you don't compromise your values, to find common sense solutions. And that has been my approach.
She has literally compromised all of her values, everything that she has said over the last 10 years to try to get elected. And you know she's just going to revert back to what she was, which is the most liberal senator that's ever been in office. She was voted that. And again, she doesn't answer the question. And I love how as her role as vice president, she's always traveling. I never see her traveling much the last 3.5 years until she went and decided that she's going to steal the nomination. I didn't really see her traveling that much. Did you? Because this is the same woman that's never been to the border, but she's also never been to Europe. So I don't get what you're talking about. Never been to Europe. Why does that matter? It sometimes is just the idiocy of this. And like I said, for the fact that this is your vice president and the person that wants to run this country is crazy to me, is insane. I love this when she talks about how she owns a Glock.
You recently surprised people when you said that you are a gun owner. And then if someone came into your house...
That was not the first time I've talked about it. That's not the first time I've talked about it.
So what kind of gun do you own, and when and why did you get it?
I have a Glock, and I've had it for quite some time. And, I mean, look, Bill, my background is in law enforcement. And so there you go.
Have you ever fired it?
Yes. Of course I have. At a shooting range. Yes, of course I have.
That nervous laughter just tells you she doesn't own a gun. And I love how I was in law enforcement. You were a district attorney. You're not carrying a gun. You're not on the streets with the cops. You're not making arrests. And I love it because if you talk to an actual gun owner, someone that actually knows about their firearm, they won't sit there and tell you, well, I own a Glock. No, they'll sit there and tell you, I own a Glock 45. I own a Glock 19. I own a Glock 26. I own a Glock 28. I own a 6-hour 226. They're not going to just say, I own a Glock. That's what I got, a Glock. Because that's such a great buzzword, such a key word. I own a Glock. That's it. Well, and of course I fire. And the nervous laughter after being called out and being asked by that is outstanding, because you know she's lying. Because normally when you laugh like that, you automatically know that person is full of shit. You own a Glock. Okay, tell me about your Glock. Tell me about how you can break down your Glock. Tell me all these things about it. Just give me some information. Not just don't throw out a name brand. It's like if you own a car. Most car owners will say, well, I own a Lexus. But most astute car owners will say, I own a Lexus ES350. They're not going to just say, well, I own a Glock. Oh, the shit that this woman spews is just beyond crazy. It really is. It just kind of makes you sad a little bit and makes you worried about what's going to go on with this nation if she ever got elected. I mean, that is just the scariest thing to me that I've ever seen. And this interview continues. It goes on. And I laugh because if you listen to her and you listen to her talk, we got to talk about how she's going to pay for everything. I got to hear this. Here you go. You got to listen to this.
You want to expand the child tax credit.
Yes, I do.
You want to give tax breaks to first-time home buyers.
Yes.
And people starting small businesses.
Correct.
How are you going to pay for that?
My economic plan would strengthen America's economy. His would weaken it.
But pardon me, Madam Vice President, the question was, how are you going to pay for it?
I don't know. I own a Glock. I own a Glock. That's how I'm going to pay for it. Why ask me stupid questions that you want me to answer and then have a follow-up question? How dare you have the audacity to ask me, how am I going to pay for it? I love this clip too. Hold on, wait, we got to play this clip.
Which foreign country do you consider to be our greatest adversary?
I think there's an obvious one in mind, which is Iran. Iran has American blood on their hands, okay? This attack on Israel, 200 ballistic missiles. What we need to do to ensure that Iran never achieves the ability to be a nuclear power, that is one of my highest priorities.
So if you have proof that Iran is building a nuclear weapon, would you take military action?
I'm not going to talk about hypotheticals at this moment.
I love how I'm not going to talk about hypotheticals because then I might have to have an answer. You've already told Israel, your administration, not to go after the nuclear facilities in Iran. And you eased the sanctions off of Iran that Trump put into place. And now they have hundreds of billions of dollars in oil, which they're selling to another one of our adversaries in Russia because of you easing the policies and the sanctions, economic sanctions against Iran. And then you go out and tell Israel, don't attack or else. Oh, I gotta play this illegal immigration clip. This is the gift that just keeps on giving.
I've been covering the border for years, and so I know this is not a problem that started with your administration.
Correct.
But there was an historic flood of undocumented immigrants coming across the border the first 3 years of your administration. As a matter of fact, arrivals quadrupled from the last year of President Trump. Was it a mistake to loosen the immigration policies as much as you did?
It's a long-standing problem. And solutions are at hand. And from day one, literally, we have been offering solutions.
What I was asking was it a mistake to kind of allow that flood to happen in the first place?
I think the policies that we have been proposing are about fixing a problem, not promoting a problem. Okay?
But the numbers did quadruple.
And then
the numbers quadrupled. But we're about fixing things. It only got for help. I'm going to help her out. It only got 4 times worse because I know quadruple is a big word.
Numbers today, because of what we have done, we have cut the flow of illegal immigration by half. We have cut the flow of fentanyl by half, but we need Congress to be able to act to actually fix the problem.
It's all Congress's fault, even though it was the swipe of a pen that removed everything that Trump had in place, which worked. Oh my God. I mean, this is just getting to a point where you're like, can you tell the border czar that you need to take care of the border? Could you do that, please? And the fact that they're holding her feet to the fire in reference to her immigration policies and everything that she wants to do, everything that she wants to pay for is astounding. Is astounding. And I love because we have to go back to that former interview with Fox, with 60 Minutes. I love because this is when she talks about Iran again.
What's the message to Iran?
Don't.
As President Biden said, just don't.
Exactly. One word. Pretty straightforward.
That's a deterrent. As a Glock owner, that is about as deterrent as you can get. Don't. Don't what? Don't keep selling that oil to Russia, making billions of dollars so they can finance terrorism against Israel and the United States and our allies? You don't want to do that? Oh my God, I got to play this clip too. Oh, this is another great clip. Hold on, this is another great clip.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the.
What the fuck is she talking about? Seriously, what is she? Literally, what is she talking about? I mean, this interview is full of gems. It is full of disasters. And I love this. We got to talk about this one. Hold on, we got to talk about this one. Well, we got to play this one too.
My plan is about saying that when you invest in small businesses, you invest in the middle class, and you strengthen America's economy. Small businesses are part of the backbone of America's economy.
But pardon me, Madam Vice President, the question was, how are you going to pay for it?
Well, one of the things is I'm going to make sure that the richest among us who can afford it pay their fair share in taxes.
I have to stop that for a minute because this is crazy to me. He's going to get into this, but I had to stop this a minute. They always talk about going after the billionaires. There's like 825 billionaires in this country, in the United States alone. And they actually pay about 46% of the tax revenue in this country. These 850 people. You have almost 50% of the population that gets a refund check, that doesn't pay taxes. And then you have the middle class, which has to sit in the middle and eat a big shit sandwich.
It is not right that teachers and nurses and firefighters are paying a higher tax rate than billionaires and the biggest corporations. And I plan on making that fair.
But we're dealing with the real world here.
But the real world includes...
How are you going to get this through Congress?
You know, when you talk quietly with a lot of folks in Congress, they know exactly what I'm talking about because their constituents know exactly what I'm talking about. Their constituents are those firefighters and teachers and nurses. My plan...
I've said this before. She's like masturbating with a cheese grater. It's highly amusing at first and then extremely painful. I love this. This is my favorite clip, though, and I want to talk about this. This is what I was trying to get to because I could do this all day.
That's what she said.
Was democracy best served by President Biden stepping down and basically handing you a nomination? You didn't have to go through a primary process. You didn't have to fight off other contenders. That's not really the way our system was intended to work.
President Biden made a decision that I think history is going to show is rare among leaders.
You're right, because most people who are dealing with Alzheimer's and senility usually aren't elected president. So it is very rare for that type of person to step down because of the fact they probably don't even know they're stepping down.
Which was to put country before self. And I am proud to have earned the support of the vast majority of delegates and to have...
I got support of the vast majority of delegates, but not the 3 million plus who literally voted in the primary.
Been elected the Democratic nominee. I am proud to have received the endorsement of leaders around this country from every background and walk of life to fight in this election over the next month for our democracy.
But I think this truncated process is why people think or say they don't really know who you are.
Look.
Because she circumvented the entire system to get elected or try to get elected. Okay? Can we talk about that a minute? Can we think about that for a minute? It's the Glock owner. It's the Glock owner that she is. Her thought process and her mind process, that's just the way when you're a Glock owner works. You just have to think about these things. It's a train wreck, man. This whole thing was a train wreck. And watching this train wreck just makes you cringe even more that she potentially can be elected to the highest office, in my mind, in the world. And we have to sit there and hope and pray she doesn't fuck things up even more than she's probably going to. It's a sad thought process. It's a sad moment for democracy because Elon Musk had it best when he at the Trump rally over in Butler, Pennsylvania. He's basically like, listen, you are going to destroy democracy if you do this. If you allow this person to come into this office, they talk about saving democracy. They're going to destroy it. They're going to destroy the economy. Mark Cuban even came out as a huge Democratic supporter saying, listen, these unrealized tax gains, the tax on the unrealized gains in my heyday would have bankrupted me. And they talk about how it's only going to attack millionaires. But I've said this before. You're a small farm owner. You have property worth $2 million. And let's say it goes up to $3 million. So you're now going to have to pay the unrealized gains tax. Same thing. If you give or you will your property to a child, they're going to have to pay the death tax. Then they're going to have to pay the unrealized gain tax on top of that property. So you're not going to be able to keep small businesses and farms within the family because they are going to be taxed to death. I love Peter Doocy. I got to play a little bit of Peter Doocy because he's just not dealing with Karine Jean-Pierre anymore. I just got to get into this one last thing. This is about the hurricane relief.
And on this issue of funding, the administration has money to send to Lebanon without Congress coming back. But Congress does have to come back to approve money to send to people in North Carolina. Do I have that right?
Here's what I'm going to be very clear about. The president and the vice
You're throwing a lot of big words at me, boo.
president has had a robust whole of government response to this. Hundreds of millions of dollars. I said it at the top, more than $200 million that we have directly
and you probably need about $6 billion
put towards survivors here for disaster help. And that's because of this president's commitment to make sure that we are there for communities that are impacted. We take this very seriously again. We take this
people dying in this country, we take very seriously. Like, that's something you should be proud of? Shouldn't that just be a given?
Very seriously. And before the hurricane hit, we pre-positioned more than 1,500 federal folks on the ground to help. And so
these are the same federal folks that are taking up hotel rooms that could be used to house the hurricane survivors. But we're not going to get into that.
We have made sure that every state has gotten their storm requested emergency declaration. They requested it.
You got a declaration, which is basically the government's version of an IOU.
And we made sure they received it. We've taken this very seriously. More than $200 million that we have provided to the impacted areas. But instead, people want to do disinformation, misinformation, which is dangerous. Because then when folks on the ground hear that, they may not want to.
Folks on the ground are the ones that are posting TikTok videos and Twitter videos and things on YouTube that are showing the lack of government response.
Ask for the help that they need. That is there for them. That's our focus here.
But President Biden is fond of saying, show me your budget and I will tell you what you value. If he's got money for people in Lebanon right now, without Congress having to come back, what does it say about his values? There's not enough money right now for people in North Carolina who need it. That's not misinformation.
Wait, no, that is your whole premise of the question is misinformation, sir. What you do? Yes, it's misinformation.
Is there money to send?
We are going to get into the misinformation tag too now in the next episode because that's how the Democrats are going to be attacking and limiting your freedom of speech, and that's even scarier than some of the things we're hearing now.
Right now.
I just mentioned to you that we provided more than $200 million to folks who are impacted in the area, and I just shared with you that people are deciding not to. People are deciding not to.
To Congress that there's not enough money.
People are deciding not to accept aid. Listen, I lost everything. My house just floated away. I don't have a car. I don't have cash. I don't have clothes. I don't need aid. Like those 850 billionaires in this country. I'm so well off that I don't need any assistance. She's so full of shit.
To help people
We're
in North
talking
Carolina
about the SBA disaster loan.
That's money for people in North Carolina.
And that's important, and people in North Carolina need that. Wait, this is nothing new. Peter, this is nothing new. Congress comes together, they provide money, millions of dollars, for disaster relief. We're asking them to do the job that they have been doing for some time.
From a letter that President Biden sent to Johnson, McConnell, Schumer, and Jeffries. The president's letter is not misinformation.
Well, you send a letter from the president. That's not misinformation. That's just a letter from the president, and he probably doesn't remember even sending the letter. So technically, I guess that is misinformation.
Do you agree?
No, the way you're asking me the question is misinformation. There is money.
Oh, it's the way the question's asked. I'm so glad they're here because we're all so stupid.
That we are allocating to the impacted areas, and there's money there to help people who truly need it. There are survivors who need the funding, and it's there.
That you don't like misinformation.
I said that. I actually said we have the money.
That's what I like about Peter Doocy. You can't just, if you don't like a question, you can't just label it misinformation, because that's what a banana republic does, and that's what this administration does. So we're like I said, that's a whole. We've already run almost 45 minutes to an hour here, so we're gonna wrap this up in a minute. But I got 43 seconds. I have to continue to play.
Available to help survivors of Hurricane Helene and also Hurricane Milton. Now there's going to.
Okay, listen. I know it's bad, and I shouldn't say it, but I'm going to say it anyways. Every time I hear Hurricane Milton, I think of Milton from. I think of Milton from Office Space. I'm sorry. It always just pops into my mind. I don't know why.
Be a shortfall, right? Because we don't know how bad it's Hurricane Milton is going to be. And so we're going to need additional funding.
So don't send funding to Lebanon.
Exactly what I just asked about. And you said it was misinformation. Yes.
What you're asking me is why Congress needs to come back and do their job. That's what you're asking me. Congress needs to come back and do their job and provide extra assistance, extra funding to disaster relief fund. That's what Congress needs to do, and we're going to continue to urge that. You may not want that, but that's okay. That's what this president wants, and that's what the vice president wants. Thanks, everybody.
And I love it how she just leaves. I'm done. You think that's a mic drop moment? She's just trying to get the hell out of there because, liar, liar, your binder's on fire. Oh, this was a fun episode today. Make sure you stay tuned for the new ones coming up. And as always, the truth shall always set you free. This is Tim, this is Get Up on Law and the Mad Ramblings of a Gen Xer. And I'm out of here.